here we are playing Maxi Bourse, and blue player has decided I want to make some money back. I got these 3 shares of Mitsubishi Electronic. I got a decent amount of money tied up in them. They're not tremendously valuable. They're only $260 each. Maybe I've screwed up on the price, but that's okay. That's what was paid. So if I did, I screwed up for a lot of people. But anyway, I don't think anybody much wants them, but at least I can get a few bucks off of them. So let's sell them now. And hey, if we can drop the price of something enough, we can destroy it. That's one of the awesome things in this game. So maybe by starting this, I'll end up knocking out the company held by the leader of the game. All right, well, that's an interesting concept, isn't it? So let's look at selling. I'm going to sell all 3 shares. And we're going to see what people want. Well, unfortunately, black actually wants one of these shares. Red, not so much. They don't want one. They're in the position of, gosh, I may want to cover these shares to prevent them from dropping. The price is going to go down anyway. But I don't have a ton of money. I'm not bad off in money. It's going to go 2 rounds. They're going to go down quite a bit. How many other shares are there out there? I'm sitting on 6, 9. There's one more out there. I'm going to let this go around. And then this guy, he doesn't want them. Red probably, or black probably should have waited for the second round to bid. We got 1, 2, 3, 4 passes, which brings Mitsubishi's price down to 240. But he really did want his share. And that's what he buys it for. Now, I guess I have to exchange the money now because otherwise I'll forget how much it's worth. So he pays blue that money. Okay, I'll have to remember to give blue 240 bucks. And now we go to the second round. And at this point, black does not want them. Red doesn't want them. Yellow doesn't want them. Green's debating whether or not they want them. Basically, right now we're going down 1, 2, 3, assuming white doesn't want them to. 40 bucks more, so they're going to be down to 200 a share. That's not a bad price. They'll go down 20 bucks more, 30 bucks more if I pass on them. You know, I think people are going to have to really play with them to get them down. I'm going to pass too. So the net total here will be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They go down 50, 60, 70 bucks more. They'll be down to 170 a share, which is a major hit on his stock value, but it doesn't really affect his chances to win. Now, if more Mitsubishi shares come out and get sold and come out and get sold, it's possible he could drop towards 0, but it's really, really unlikely. All right, I'll exchange that money and change the marker. Wrapping around the board again, not a lot of deals, a little bit of selling. So, for example, this guy said, I got a couple mobiles I don't need. They're worth way too much money, even after selling. They ran for 500 bucks each. Now, red picked one up to go with his Elf Aquitaine, but one went to the bank. Just a 10-buck difference, really. Poor blue has been buying and has almost no money. They basically are out of the game at this point until they can generate cash somehow, except through trading or whatever. They can make trades to try to link things up, but they've got too much property, and really the high price they paid on those mobiles is a big hit that they took, and now they can't figure out what to do. They've got these cannons they can get rid of. Those aren't doing them any good. They're just having to try to float some sort of money to get things going. They've got 2 companies here and 1 specialization in TDK. So, you know, once they pass start, they'll get some cash back, but not enough to really play, not compared to some of these people who are sitting on much better standing positions like this guy here. 4 companies, and he's going to get bonuses for that, and he's sitting on $4,000 or $4 million in liquid assets. So, you know, you make your deals, you make your you cut your bonuses and whatever, and you end up buying mobile because, well, you don't want to give the bonus to somebody else. You want to take the bonus yourself, but it ends up putting you in deep trouble. Those big $500 companies, and there are a couple of them. Pepsi's another one up here. They're painful to buy. I don't know if you can pass up on them though. Okay, so on Blue's turn, they landed on Nissan, and both they and the orange player bought 3 shares in the first round. They got their original 3. Then they both bid 3 shares. Neither of them had the cash to pay for this. They knew this outright. Nobody, one other person bought 1 share, but nobody else got involved. And Blue backed down first, handed it to them. They got their 4th company this way, right? 1, 2, 3, 4. But they had to sell off some of their income-making specializations. And we're going to see some of the stock prices, like Mitsubishi's down to 60. Avion Dassault is down to 70. We're seeing the prices dropping because nobody's interested in this stuff. Now, obviously, if those prices start getting dangerous, the people who own the companies are going to have to step in and price protect them to make sure that they don't lose too much value. And it's at about that point. So, for example, Mitsubishi, if anybody tries to sell a Mitsubishi, that'll go around 5 times if it passes. So they have to make sure they buy it because it's still going to end up around $20 a share. Now, that stuff was bought, you know, around 300. Just shows you. Okay, I guess we're on to the black player, and he's probably going to look for either a deal or something to sell because everybody's trying to scrape together money at this point. Okay, so black got one of those nasty cards, and they played their turnout to just they sold off a couple of TDK shares that they didn't need, and that dropped its price a little bit down to 230. I mean, it's still a respectable price and nowhere in danger, and gave them a good deal of cash. But this is the first 29,000. Tame Everest, Makalu, Annapurna, and its rock falls to belong to the race of conquerors of the useless. To realize your dream, sell shares at the market price to generate 750,000 in cash to the expedition. Bravo. Okay, well that's a lot of money and a kind of painful existence here. Kind of these random bones that can happen. Now, whenever an event card forces you to sell stock, you get to keep the money raised unless the card specifically states otherwise. This is sold at market price. Market price is people are going to be able to bid, so it's going to drop in price. He's got to come up with $750,000. That could be, you know, nearly all of his stock. That could also swing the game to someone else. So these cards could be quite ridiculously random. Anyway, we're going to see what happens, but it's possible the game's over at this point. Well, it wasn't as big a bonus as I thought. The total value wasn't that high, 750. Actually, his 3 L'Oreal shares went for 720. But he got to do a bonus on this. He got to sell more shares, and could have actually sold even more with like the Unilever than he had to sell. He got rid of stuff at a quicker rate than he would have been able to on his turn by turn. So now he has a pile of cash because you're allowed to keep that money. Let's see what happens with It gets an 8. And that's going to open up Polaroid. Now, red's set up, and they want to play in this. So there's going to be a bidding and a buying on Polaroid. Whether or not red gets it or it ends up split up, it's up in the air. Well, we've made it around again, and some of the stock are really kind of piling up. So Peugeot, he got a start on Peugeot. If he was able to get control of it, he wins the game. So a couple other people, white and black, bought Peugeot, and then white ended up landing on Chrysler, starting that. We've got a potential deal there between white and black. Black's got not quite Fuji. They've really only got 2, so this would be their third. And they've got 1, 2. It would be their third. Of course, both have openings elsewhere, especially in the film and chemicals industries. Speaking of which, red also bought a bunch of Chryslers because they've got interests with this guy and could be able to do a dual swap between the alpha-aquitaine and the film side of things. So it's not clear what's going to happen there, but black gets the next turn, so they get to make the next offer. Price is mixed view. A lot of the things have been dropping pretty hard, not as badly as we had seen before, but we're definitely seeing things like Philips has gone down below its par, etc. I'm going to load this one up. It's probably it for my night, and that's about it. Okay, so here I am playing Maxi Bourse. Things started happening kind of hot and heavy. Blue landed on the Kellogg space, fired off trades in it, backed out, and let red buy the 6 shares of Kellogg's. Nobody else was involved in it. People are low on money, so it's kind of hard once 2 people were involved in it, neither of whom could win off of it, to step in, because there are people that you might have to step in to stop from winning. Then the second one, black landed on Bank of Tokyo. Now, people are making trades here. So black made a trade, I think, with red. What did they gain? They gained Fuji. I'm trying to remember what they gave up for this. I think they gave up the DuPont, but I may be mistaken there. No, I don't think they did. I think they gave up I think they traded Fuji with this guy, maybe. That doesn't make sense. I'm trying to remember how they got those shares of Fuji, who they got them from. I think they got them from this guy. Anyway, I'm not sure what the trade... Oh, alpha-aquitaine. They traded 1-for-1 share. Fujifilm for alpha-aquitaine. That gave him each control and gave him a couple of shares of alpha-aquitaine that he can get rid of and make some cash from. Well, then on red's turn, they cut a deal... picking up the DuPont or the Polaroid, I think the Polaroid, because they just got DuPont, in exchange for Chrysler. And at this point, they're at 4 of the 5 companies that they need. They rolled double 6s, landed on a property, Citicorp, and lo and behold, they didn't pick up, shit, I don't remember what they picked up. They picked up the alpha-aquitaine from him. They picked up the DuPont from him. And lo and behold, there were some shares. There were 3 shares of Polaroid left. They were able to buy those outright. Now, they didn't have the cash on hand to buy them, and this is kind of a gray area in the rules. In the sense that if you buy something at market price, there's no question that you can say, oh, I don't have the money, and you have to raise the cash with stock. I'm not so sure when you buy outright if that's actually legal. I'm playing it that way because I can't find anything that prohibits it. You commit to buy. Hey, you don't have the cash. You have to sell off stocks. You take your penalty as well. No big deal. And they did that. And 2, 3, 4, 5 companies. And that's the game. That's all there is. They talk about making the quick game going around twice or something. I didn't get all the way around. I think this is kind of what we saw when we played it. I think we were actually playing the full game. some of us were just focused on this. I can make infinite money by, bidding one of my stocks up to the stars and then turning around and selling it. And some of us were doing that, and I think someone else snuck in a victory while we were like playing with the stock market. That's why I say the game's kind of funky. Different victory conditions would have a different effect on, how the whole play of the game goes and what you're aiming to do, which kind of makes sense. I mean, victory conditions are different, so you play it differently, aim for different things. Yeah, except you feel like they're trying to design the same game with shorter or longer variants, and it's not that. It's like, do you want to play a game that reminds me a little bit of the old Supremacy game? Not much older than this, to tell you the truth. But the old Supremacy game, which had this broken commodities market that you could really manipulate. And it feels to me like the stock market in this becomes that way if people focus too much on making cash. Now, making cash, obviously, is a good thing. But if you focus too much on that, you end up losing, because that's not what the goal of the main game is. But if that's all the goal of the game is, wow, that's going to be a weird game, I think. All right. I'll be back with a review, and I'll probably go into those thoughts again, because I think that they're key to what is a little cracked in this game. Overall, we saw there's a lot of shares out, and that's kind of painful to me, the amount of table space this takes up. Now, obviously, the designers realized that, providing this little player aid sheet to keep track of what you and maybe other people have. But I don't know. Personally, I like to be able to see the shares, especially when it directly influences, what you need to win the game. I don't think that sheet is going to be capable of expressing to everyone what everyone else's situation is. All right. Well, we definitely saw some exercising of the system here, and a little bit of insight into what feels kind of weird about it, and why I think that some of the players in my group, like all but maybe 2 or 3, including myself, never wanted to touch this again. All right, I'm going to load this short one up, and then I'll come back with a review.